So we're working on the trailers today, and we've got this trailer here, and you can see this thing is rusted out. That's holes. That's not even just like surface rust. This thing's rusted out, especially this point here. I mean, I can put my finger in it and you can feel all of it's just piled up inside there. So you can see this thing, it's in definite need of repair, and I could get just another tube and replace that. But then I look back here and I'm like, well, the axle, not only did they put some other tires and wheels on there, that those are going to rust in the salt water, and that's all rusty. Look at this axle. This thing is nasty. So, and you can see that's some pretty deep rust. You know, that's actually flaking off. That's nothing that is repairable and to make it look in a new fashion. So I figured if I did that, if I replaced the axle, I'd still have to buy tires and wheels. I'd still be into it, and I'd be into it for a decent bit of money. So, luckily enough, Facebook Marketplace to the rescue here. So, this thing, the only problem I have with it, it's got an 1 7/8 ball on it. And that 1 7/8 ball, you know, it's going to be replaced. I already bought the coupler for it, 33 bucks. So, I went to my local trailer shop this morning to get that. And I was talking to them, and you can see that, you know, that thing's sticking out quite a bit on each side. And all the years of working on race cars, I know, and I'm capable of, cutting that thing off, pushing that in, you know, getting all that out there, and re-welding this axle. But when I talked to the guy this morning at the local trailer shop, I told him, I said, hey, would you be interested in doing it for me? And the local boat trailer guy. And he says, well, yeah. He said, I can build you a whole new one, or you bring me that one and I can re-weld it. I said, okay, well, that's what I'll do. So, fixing to snap this thing out, and we're gonna get that took down to the shop and have them do that for us, just to buy us some time back. And then you can see, you know, the fender brackets they're tore up. I could fix that. I can straighten that back out, and you know, these are rusted and beaten and not in good shape. So I'm going to replace the fenders. Both sides are like that. You can see over there, that thing's all rusted out. So I was looking this morning trying to figure out, because I like having the step pad here. And they told me this morning when I was down there that they have something that we could put on there that's pretty much comparable, and would make that thing look just the same, have it to where it's got plenty of strength. So we're going to see what we can figure out with that too while we're there. But I'm going to get this thing took out of here, and looking at that, it looks like some grease is slung out, so maybe the seal that back here is leaking. But either way, I might have them just go ahead and replace both sides. That way it's all done and I don't have to worry about it. But you can see, like, every single bolt on this thing, it's nasty. They're all rusted. You know, that's not safe for the road right there. So I'm going to get this thing took apart, and I'm going to peel all these old bolts out of here. And I've already went to the store, and I've already spent some money at Ace Hardware on buying fasteners to replace every single fastener on the boat. Even that one there. All these different bolts for all the different guides. And the little bit that I'm going to have to spend on this thing for accessories, like I'm going to have to build basically what we have here. Something like this, to where the boat kind of rolls up and it sits flat on there. So I'm going to build something like that. But I'm going to check with them and see if they have something. But that winch right there, this winch will work. This winch is almost brand new. So we'll switch that over. I wanted to do stainless bolts because the rust, once it starts in one spot, it just kind of like bleeds over. So this is a nice trailer. A really nice trailer for especially a J16. There's no need for this much trailer. This is heavy duty, but it was cheap. I found it. The guy told me, he said it was a guy that never came back for it, so he did the proper paperwork, and now I got a trailer. So it needs lights. These lights are new on both sides, but the wiring is ran on the outside, and it's duct taped in, and you can see that. It'd be nicer if it was ran through. So we'll see what we can do and try and make this thing a little bit nicer too. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started ripping this axle out so I can take this thing down there to the man and get him to hook me up. This is absolutely unbelievable. Like, I can't make this up. Guess what happened when I set it down? That ain't supposed to be like that. Well, thank God. Oh, we have our Jetsons trailer over here. It's just floating in the air. So we got our axle out earlier, and I looked at the springs, and as I looked at the springs, I was like, man, these things are nasty. And I said, well, there it is. That's a 4-leaf. And I looked over there, and I said, wait a minute. Let me get around there a little closer so I can show you what's going on there. There's 3 leaves. 1, 2, 3. That's loose. I don't know if that bottom one broke out or it wasn't there, but you can see. So, while I was at the place getting the axle shortened up, because the local store, they told me $100 they'd do it, and I can't complain about that. See how that flat plate here, see how it's not up against that tube? And somebody welded that, and they welded back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that is not how that's supposed to be. That plate is supposed to be right up against the edge of this tubing, right? So you can see that's got the spindle slug in there, right? So it's supposed to look like this right here. So I talked to these guys. They had just bring us the axle, we'll set it up. Now, something I didn't even know is that they've got on their axle there, they've got it set for that to be the top of the axle. And they told me that these have got a certain amount of camber built into them so that when weight does get onto it, that it'll spin it up. So that'll be going back in, and then we'll have to pull our hubs off. And while we're in there, we're going to go ahead and grease the bearings, get everything figured out for that, so that we don't have any issues when we go down to the river and try and trade these boats out. We are obviously going to have to figure something out there. So I bought a new coupler so that we could put a 2-inch ball on it, because this trailer here only has an 1 7/8 ball, and I don't have anything else with an 1 7/8 ball, so we're going to convert it back to 2. So while I was there, I saw that they had safety chains with the nice little clips all set up, so I got those. We've got new springs. These are 3 leaves, so they're 1,750 pounds weight capacity each. If we would have went back with 4 leaves, we would have had like a 2,200 pound each, so it would have been like for a 44 or 4,500 pound trailer, and we don't need that. Not for that little boat. So if you guys can see, these are the bushings that came out, and they are wore out. This is what they're supposed to look like. Nice and pretty and clean and fresh. So these ride up in here, you know, just the bolt rides right through there. And the other end's got its own bushing as well. But before I put it on, I'm going to get, from where I had to use the torch there, I'm going to get that, get all that black cleaned off there. I'm going to spray a quick coat of galvanizer spray on there just to make sure that it didn't affect the galvanizing. Well, you can see that's a lot of bolts and nuts and washers. And I got some more bolts here. And then we got that galvanizing spray we picked up from B&G Trailers. So if you look, we already got our nice little coat on there and on there. Got that all done up. So now we can get started installing all this and get this axle put in here tonight. Alright, so as we're going, we just put the new tongue on. We got our stainless bolts in there. We got nylock nuts on there. Well, we also got, every time that I'm going to take something off or move something, before we put it back together, I'm going to clean it with the wire brush there, and I'm going to put some new galvanizing compound on it, because you can see the difference from there to there. You can see it, and that's a little bit of glue from the duct tape that was on there, and I'm just going to have to wire wheel that off. But you can see it's got some rust stains that are popping through. I don't know if somebody ground next to it and it like was grinding some metal and it landed on it and started to rust, or if that's just the way that's coming through on that galvanizing. But we already got the axle back in, and the guys over there at B&G Trailers, they hooked us up. So we took our fenders off, and I had to fix this bracket. This bracket, it's somewhat straight for the most part, but it's not perfect. And this side's supposed to be bent in at that angle, but it's not supposed to be bent up still. So I'm going to see if I can find another one of those brackets before I give up on it. But there's the brackets for our bunks. We're going to get that put back on. And I wanted to replace those bolts because they were rusted out. And we're just going to have this thing all done up, hopefully by today, and then be able to go and get Dam Skiffy up off the ground. This is one of those things that I just found it and I had to stick it back in. You can see there's water here, right? This whole thing, because I was going to change this out, that whole tube's full of water. So things like this need drain holes. So we're going to be popping us a little hole down in there and get that out of there and be able to not have so much chance of that thing rusting out. Look at all that water in there. And if I wouldn't have taken this bolt out to find, you know, to replace it, and I got a stainless one there, if I wouldn't have taken that out, we'd have never found this. So I'm going to get that hole drilled in that and get that bolt replaced, and we're almost ready. I got to put I'm waiting on the pieces to dry. I'm going to put a new bunk on this side, a little bit longer. We're going to keep that one on that side so we can make sure before we replace it that we've got them in the position we need them, because this is not the trailer that the boat came on. So, you know, it's a little trial and error. And we got the measurement for between the bunks. So the boat's going to sit inside the frame rails of the trailer. So this is a lot wider trailer than we need, but that just makes it that much more safe that we're not going to hit the sides when we come in, you know, hit those lights or anything else. Well, as you guys can see, we're getting a new trailer backed in. Jeff pulled it down here. We can swap it, and there's the boat. First time seeing it float. So it looks like it rides plenty high in the water too. So anyways, we're gonna get this thing put on here and we'll give you a payoff video. We got one little problem. She touches the trailer when we load, so we're gonna have to do something there. We can actually, well, I guess we'd probably be able to load her back a little bit. Yeah, look at that. Look at that right there. On the trailer, ready to go. That's awesome. I'll slide that thing back when we get to the house, and then we'll make sure we get the other winch off the other trailer and get that thing all set up. Well, it's been a couple of weeks since we did the trailer swapping, and I've been slacking on videos because we didn't have any that were completely finished. So I'm going to cut this one into a two-parter, but real quick I'll show you the progress that we've done since. We've got, remember how when we pulled it on there it was real close right here to that? I figured out why. That's my fault. The bracket here is actually taller on the front than it is on the rear. So the front bracket, you know, the bolt's like 4 inches up or so, maybe even 6. That's quite a bit. So it's probably 6 inches up. On the back brackets, it's like 3. So it's about 3 inches lower. So that was making the boat sit downhill on the trailer on this side. And then, you know, we still got to do our lights. We still got to mount our fender stuff, but we have done a little bit more progress. I'll show you that in a second. So as we've been using this thing for storage, we've got our other bunk there we haven't put on yet, and we got our engine out off the other boat, our little green boat we got, and we got the 20 horse Mariner. We got it stuck on here. We got all of our fiberglass work kind of done for this, and after going a little farther in depth, we realized that you can see all these cracks. I'm going to take all that top layer of gel coat off there, put a thin layer of like 1.5 ounce strand mat on there, and when we do that, that'll give us a fresh, brand new surface, and we're going to run us some new gel coat on there. So that'll give us a project to get started spreading gel coat and doing gel coat products, so that way we can be a little bit more proficient when we go to do the floor, because I think we're going to have to cut the floor out and get all that old nasty foam out. But we'll figure that out here in the next episode or two. But you see we got the Mariner on here, and you see we've got the pulling platform, and it's just sitting here. And right now it's just sitting here on the back. It's sitting on the bunks, and it's not tall enough where it sits down low like that to be, I don't want to put those brackets down there. I don't want those to be down in the water. So when we put it up to where the front bracket sits on the seat there, it's perfect for me to have like a little leaning post to lean against that, you know, to where when I'm using the tiller drive, I'm right on it. But it puts it way on up, and I'll put a picture in here to show you when we holding it the other day. You can see Jeff's holding it, and we got that bracket right there. It sits on top of that trim tab bracket, right? So it sits up high, and it covers up these couple of holes we got. You know, somebody already must have had something there because they got the same thing there. So this boat might have already had one before. So we'll get this thing lifted up some. So as you can see, we made a little bit of progress here, but you know, like we were saying before, you can see the width on this trailer in comparison to this boat. You can see that it's way wider than it needs to be, but that's perfect. We got some stability when we're going down the road. It's nice and low, nice center of gravity, and it's gonna sit just right going down the highway. We've already towed it with the other truck back from the boat ramp. It towed good. We had no issues whatsoever. So anyways, we're gonna call this part 1 to this, and when we come back for the trailer refit, we'll show remaking this bracket here, getting this all remade so that we have a nice flat surface to pull up to. Probably use like a nice piece of the 2x6 or 2x8 that we took off of the old bunk. And we still got to get the other bunk changed out and still got to get these maneuvered, but I wanted to get the weight put on there so that we could see everywhere that we're going to have weight, so that when we go to put this thing on the trailer for the next time and we set these bunks, that's the last time we have to set the bunks. You know, we're not going to have to pull it off and move it or anything. So anyways, we're going to get out of here, and hopefully everybody's going to enjoy this video and see just a little bit of hard work that we're putting in. So if y'all will, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and help us out and get us going so that we can continue to make content for you. Y'all have a good one.